School. We're out here supporting breast cancer awareness, and we love the zone.
I don't know if you guys understand how much this is from your awesome lemonade stand, but this is incredible. Like, we were all blown away when we heard how much you guys have done. And so, the whole Ben family, we want to give you guys a huge thank you, and keep doing what you're doing, because it's really special.
He was always in sports, he was very energetic, he was very healthy right up into his senior year. And then, you know, he had an excellent cross-country season in the fall. And we were all, you know, we were super excited for his senior track season, how he's going to go. And then he started having pains, and at first it was misdiagnosed as a sports injury, and they thought it was like his sciatic nerve. So they kind of treated him for that for a while, but then he wasn't getting better.
His dad ended up taking him, he saw a sports medicine doctor, and they just weren't getting anywhere. They were doing therapy on it, but he was in so much pain. So the last time before we found out he had cancer, they ran some blood work, called us, said that, you know, we needed to see him in the hospital. So his dad took him to the hospital, and that was where they found out. The labs alerted them that he had cancer. It took a couple of days to find out exactly what kind of cancer it was. They had narrowed it down to few. Ended up calling Peyton Manning Children's Hospital, Dr. Razzouk, which we love Dr. Razzouk, he was wonderful. Because they had it narrowed down to 4 different types and they weren't clear whether it was pediatric or not, Dr. Razzouk told me later that he got on the phone with them and said, I don't care if this is pediatric or not, you get him here and you get him here now. And so they did. They took him to Peyton Manning right away, and like I said, it took a few days to narrow it down that it was Ewing sarcoma. There's actually a chromosome test that they do for that, where there's 2 chromosomes that flip, and that's how they diagnose Ewing sarcoma. And then from, you know, that point, you know, then we started obviously very aggressive chemotherapy and cancer treatments.
When he was we first found out it was cancer, it was like 2 weeks before high school graduation. So, you know, we're planning, you know, senior graduation open houses and all this, then all of a sudden, you know, everything just stopped. And he got his first treatments right before graduation, and they purposely gave him enough to get him to be able to go to his graduation with his friends. He went in a wheelchair and was able to go across the stage, and we have a picture somewhere of him actually standing up out of the wheelchair to accept the diploma, and everybody just stood up and clapped. It was really amazing. But just the fact that they were able, you know, they said, you know, do you want to go to graduation? He was like, yes, and they said, we will get you there. He was a normal kid. That's what, you know, nobody's perfect. He was a normal kid, and he just wanted to be normal and do normal things, like go to his graduation, go to college, do all the normal things. And so he did, you know, just wanted to be normal.
Getting to go to Purdue that was a blessing. You know, we had to delay it a year, obviously, because of the cancer treatments, because it is. Ewing sarcoma is a very aggressive cancer. Unfortunately, the older you are, it's pediatric cancer, and the older you are when you are diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, the less chance you have of surviving. So we got 2 years that we weren't sure we were going to get.
And they had asked him at the beginning, because he was 18 already, he had to agree to all of his medical care. He had to sign off on everything. He was technically an adult, and we couldn't shield him from anything. He knew everything. And they asked him, you know, what do you want to do? And I remember he said, I want to give it a shot. You know, I want to try.
Yeah, I feel like it was late October of that year after he started back. He started having pains in his hips again and in different places, and and we called Dr. Razuk, and they did test, and that's when they could see it was coming back. So they decided radiation would be the therapy, which we have a picture of him standing beside the big machine, because he was interested in everything, and he was fascinated by this big machine. And they had to, because he was in school, we ended up opting for him to do the radiation in Lafayette. So we would go, and we would just take turns of going up there and getting him from classes, taking him to radiation. Then he'd go back to class, and then the next day somebody else would go up and take him to radiation.
There was a chance. They kind of considered, they considered every option. One option was maybe going to Cincinnati Children's Hospital to get a bone marrow transplant. And with his kind of cancer, it had to be his own bone marrow. It couldn't be a donor. So it's incredible to think about the things that they know. And it's sad that they know these things because so many kids have been sick. But they knew early on to do certain things like, let's take a bone marrow sample and store it in case we need it later. And that could have been something that might have, been something to save his life, but we were, getting all ready to go, and then they called back and said it had progressed too far, and so we didn't have that option anymore, and that was kind of devastating.
It was, and then found out his brother Will was graduating from high school, because he was a couple years younger than Ben, and we found out right before Will's graduation, and Ben made us promise not to tell anybody. He did not want to take that moment away from his brother, and so we had to keep quiet and couldn't tell anybody. And Will got to have his, which Will doesn't even like attention, but he got to have his graduation party that we made him have, even though he didn't want to have it. But that was just Ben. He knew that would, that would be hard to get through, and he didn't want to do that. He didn't want to take that away from his brother. So we did. We had to just kind of pretend it wasn't happening until after everything was over.
And that's the kind of maturity that Ben had, and maybe that's kind of an oldest child thing, but I think it's more than that. He was so mature in that way that he thought of other people and before he thought of himself.
Yeah, he always found lightness even in the most serious, moments.
Oh yeah, he was always telling jokes and being funny even about his illness. And
he told me one day when it was just him and I, because him and his dad are two peas in a pod. If you look at pictures of them when they were younger, it looked the same even. But he told me how much, he said if there was anybody in this world I want to be like, it's like my dad. He was always giving, always thinking of other people. I know one year I can't remember the charity, but there was a charity going on at school. He had just had his birthday, had a couple $100 birthday money, and donated that to the school instead of spending that on something for himself, because that's just how he was. He was always thinking of other people, always giving to other people.
No, I mean, he had money in the savings account.
Oh, in his
He had money in his checking account.
Yeah.
He had certificates, bonds, and everything he had. He told us to donate it.
Yeah.
And then he was asked what he wanted us to do, to continue his legacy. And he wanted, if we did something to raise money, he wanted to go to Peyton Manning Children's Hospital to help kids like himself and families like himself.
Ben was one of the most unforgettable people to ever go through our program with cross country and track at Avon High School. His confidence, character, and the way he treated people are what set him apart from everybody else. We continue to honor his legacy through our benefit mile race every August, where we bring in lots of different people, different runners, walkers, to come and support something that he loved, which was running and just being an athlete. And we used the money that we raise to go towards the Peyton Manning Children's Hospital Center for Cancer and Blood Diseases in his honor for all the great work they did for him.
To me, Ben was my biggest role model. I always wanted to be just like Ben when I was growing up. He was the cool older brother. When I was younger, I tried to do that by running. I wanted to run because Ben ran. When I got older, I realized that being like Ben was more like being strong and brave and very positive. I don't think that anybody ever saw Ben not smiling. So I think that now when I look back and I try to live my life the best way that I can, and I try to be like Ben, I try to be more like him in his personality and try to be somebody who's strong for everybody around me and always spreading positivity and just shining that light. What's weird being Ben's younger sibling is that when he passed, he was 20 years old, and in a few months, I'm turning 20 years old. So that's the weirdest aspect to me about being a younger sibling, losing an older sibling, is just that as time goes by, everything just feels weird. Like I've officially finished more college than Ben ever did, which is very strange, and it's a really weird feeling. It's almost bittersweet because I'm very proud of who I am today and how far I've come, but it's just sad to think what it would be like if my older brother was still here and he was still way older than me, but now I'm almost the same age. When Ben was in hospice care at home with us, there was one day where the preacher had come over and was kind of talking to him, and I overheard their conversation a little bit because I used to eavesdrop. And I heard Ben telling the preacher, "I'm not afraid for when my time comes." He was not scared. But his concern was for us. It was for his family. He said, "I don't know what's going to happen to my family. I'm scared for them, and I just hope that they're going to be okay." And that's something that I keep with me because it's a reminder of how selfless he was, and that he really was never thinking about himself. He was concerned for us the entire time.
Yeah, I remember him telling me, as bad as he felt and as sick as he was, that there was always somebody somewhere that was worse off than he was. And he was thankful for every day that he had. I mean, just never felt sorry for himself, never had a bad attitude. I mean, he wasn't happy to be sick, obviously, but he had such grace about him the entire time. And, you know, we've said a lot since I lived like Ben. And, you know, we get so upset about little things that really don't matter, petty little things that get in our way, and, you know, that driver cut me off or whatever. And, you know, sometimes I think about that, and I think about how Ben embraced his life, and, you know, you feel a little bit ashamed because you do let the little things get to you, and he just didn't. So she's right, you know, everybody thinks their kid's great, but he truly was an astounding human being, truly.